Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Max Q. I am excited to be here today with David Berkowitz, the founder, CEO, president, all of the big titles of the AI Marketers Guild. He has also been a CMO, fractional and otherwise, for many, many years and been in and out of the marketing industry. He actually really focuses on helping fellow marketers, which I love because we need to be lifting each other up in this world, in this industry. So I'm excited to be able to have him on the show today to talk a little bit about what it looks like marketing for startups, talking about his really neat community that he's building, and so on. So with that, David, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so great to be here. Thank you, Molly, for having me. So I like spend a lot of time at that intersection of being a practitioner, but also bringing folks together. The first community I founded, Serial Marketers, the motto is actually "Marketers need marketers too,"
Hmm.
and so it's just all about how do we lift each other up, and just so many of us are seeing all these complementary parts of the field. So how do we better learn from each other? And then how do we put it into action, right? What do we do about it? And how are others using it? Whether it's someone that
Hmm.
we might even see as a kind of competitor in some way, or someone from another domain that it's like, well, wow, how'd they do that?
Yes, exactly. Well, tell us a little bit about your community. I would love for you to kind of talk about it.
Yeah, well, AM Marketers Guild's thousands of members strong. A lot of the day-to-day activity happens in Slack. We've got a member-only newsletter that's curated, especially for some of the updates that are going on that happen week to week in the
Hmm.
community. We do a lot of virtual events. We do one every week, Wednesdays at noon Eastern, that almost always has a guest speaker around and have a
Hmm.
lot of founders, authors. Recently had the former chief strategy officer of Publicis Group, Rashad Dabagawala, who's an incredible author of Rethinking Work. So it's just like it's just trying to see who we can really learn from and expand our perspectives, and having this community and learning so much from so many of the members led me to actually write a book myself. So I've
Nice.
published the non-obvious guide to using AI for marketing just this March, and
Hmm. Congratulations.
yeah,
That's
thank you.
always exciting to publish a book. When's the book tour?
So yeah, this is now officially part of the book tour.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, I would love for you to pull out a little bit of your book, actually. So, what are some of the quick things that you could rattle off that people can be using for marketing in AI?
Well, I think one of my favorite parts of the book, writing it, was actually the objection audit, and
Hmm.
and that's just good as because wherever we go, I think that there are a lot of really smart objections. Like one of the stats that I found fascinating actually came from a very big institution, Rand Corporation,
Hmm.
and they were studying how 80% of AI projects fail. And that might seem kind of
Hmm.
daunting. I think it's actually a positive development in that we need to be failing a lot and learning from failure very quickly. And so I think that I'm not really a big fan of the whole Facebook style move fast and break things. I don't think you
Hmm.
necessarily need to break things. I think a lot of failures could also be quieter failures that don't necessarily mess with your organization's goals or people's jobs or customer privacy. Book also gets into a lot of the things that can go wrong and how to try to prevent some of those things from happening. Um,
Hmm.
but but to embrace the idea that a lot of this stuff isn't going to work and a lot of this stuff isn't going to go and meet the initial expectation.
Right.
But there's but there's really nothing that substitutes from experience at actually trying this out. And this is where it's like so much of what I've learned uh, from writing over the years and just like trying to put this into practice. I will say one of my favorite critiques I ever got, and really my best ever, when I was running for the Trade Outlet Media Post, and
Hmm.
I did a very early article about searching in Second Life,
Mm.
the
Yes.
virtual world, and some guy tore my article to shreds. Right, like he went line by line. His commentary about my article, it was like a random trade article, was twice as long as my actual article. But then he had this one little kicker that I'll always love and be thankful for. He said, but unlike all these other so-called journalists who are writing about this thing, at least this guy actually used it. Yeah. So I might get it all wrong, but at least it's from experience. And I think
Yeah.
there's something to be
There you
said.
go. I love that. Well, he took a lot of time redlining your article. You got to be
It was
flattered
amazing.
about that, right? Like, all
Yeah.
right, okay, you're passionate.
It was great.
That's
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Well, okay, so our audience is primarily founders, startups, B2B tech, aviation. I would love to hear your thoughts on what are three things people can be doing with AI to drive revenue, drive growth.
Well, one of the first things I'd say is being able to really understand your customer segments and I think like so much, especially early on, hinges on that ideal customer profile, the ICP, and just try to see who you're targeting and who not. Um, at the at first, I think you can actually get away with some initial brainstorming of sorts. I even hesitate to call it research when it comes to, say, just like hypothetically speaking, right? Like come up with what this persona might be like for this
Mhm.
kind of use case here, and then start asking questions about them. Where I think it becomes far more useful is putting in some real data, right? And I've done this with clients where you interview people on your team,
Mhm.
a couple customers, some other related stakeholders, and and then and then you might have, you do you do 5, 10 interviews. Now you've got 5, 10 hours worth of data
Mhm.
right here. Now start to get in and say, well, okay, what do they have in common? What don't they, right? Like if you start interviewing some folks who use competitors' products, if there's something comparable that exists right now, like uh, then what are those things bubbling to the top in there? Oh, at the at the very least, it's probably going to save you a ton of time.
Mhm.
At when it's at its best, it's probably going to surface a few things that maybe you didn't hear people in 3 different interviews spread out over 3 weeks actually use some of the same wording. But for AI, that's a no-brainer, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's one thing that's really key. Um, Personalization, I think we get into a kind of uh, murky area because there's a lot of like there's a lot of really bad personalization, and this is true as just as more of these technologies get widespread. Like they're as soon as you see a really good way to do it, it means that so some people are probably using it in a legitimately
Mhm.
terrible way, right? But to be able to go in and then have some useful cues, right? Like there are
Mhm.
tools that say have you doing a quick video pitch, but you actually have that prospect's website in the
Mhm.
background and like showing some examples that are surfacing and allow you to scale that kind of personalization in a real way where you could show how you're addressing their kind of pain point. I think whether it's doing this through text, video, audio, is that the tools are making it so much better to create actually just hyper relevant content
Mhm.
that also uh, tries to address a certain pain point that someone has. So I think that's also yeah, one of the big problems right now, especially with B2B marketing, but really for everything, is that it's just there is so much noise and
Yes.
because I call it, I liken it to the tragedy of the commons.
Mhm.
So it's like we've all got this common grazing area, and if
Right.
one person starts overgrazing, right, like, then everyone else is like, well, I'm going to have my sheep just graze a little bit more, and pretty soon there's nothing left. And I think there are two things that we've kind of overgrazed. And the first is attention, and the second is
Yes.
dollars, right? Like there's only so much attention, there's only so much money to go around, and and you just keep trying to go and encroach on those limits, then like it's just everyone's just spent.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think we should, if there's a third thing you could push in on, but I actually would really like to hear, I think those two are really good. I would love to hear your thoughts on what are the good marketers doing with AI? Like, where do you feel like what they're doing? How's that work? Because I know everyone talks about, oh, AI is going to take our jobs and there's not going to be any copywriters anymore. And I would love to, I have a personal opinion on it, but I would love to hear what you think.
Well, I think good marketers care a lot about their brand's voice, right? Like, so if you have 100 companies in any field, right? 100 different cookie brands, and you're all using AI to go and you have it write a pitch for your new cookies that are coming out, right? Like, then those 100 versions of it, they're going to sound
Mhm.
way more similar than not, right? So how do you have some of the just just that relatableness? I think that there's also going to be more of a premium coming up on things that are human generated, right? It's almost like this, like kind of like people appreciating the artisans and craftspeople who
Mhm.
are behind things, and you just know that that like and I found this even when writing my book, right? Like I could have used AI to generate everything in this book. I was insistent on not having the any of the text itself be generated by AI, but I found that like the best parts of writing the book were those that I'm creating something that no one else can create. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you're outsourcing your entire campaign to tech and AI, like then and this was true pre-AI with other kinds of automation, then then the recipients are going to be able to just smell this and feel this
Right.
and it's unlikely to respond in some way. So in the same way. So I think um, being able to keep your humanity into this
Mhm.
and also one of my favorite examples that I actually learned from a member of my community was someone had said you can't have AI image generators generate a wooden wheel with three spokes on it. Now, I'm sure at some point someone's going to be able to prove this example wrong here,
Mhm.
especially the more this example gets out there. But I've tried this with so many image generators so many times, and it comes up with all kinds of the number of spokes on these wooden wheels because AI hasn't seen this before.
Mm.
Uh, and so even if you say three, like it's the easiest thing, I could draw it on a napkin really easily. I'm not a
Mhm.
good artist. I can draw it on a napkin, show, hold it up, and you you get what this is. AI, which can, bring me a version of the Mona Lisa with my face on it, uh,
Right.
it can't do that, right? Like, so the having that role for the unexpected and things we haven't seen before,
Mhm.
uh, I I think that's where a lot of the magic is.
I love that. Thank you. That's a really good example. So that's a good point. Um, well, this has been good. I really appreciate it. We always keep these short, so I will end with our favorite question, which is, what are you currently reading? Is it your book, or are you tired of editing that and reading it? Are you reading something different?
No, I mean, I just finished work of fiction. One of my favorite authors. I've read almost everything by, if not everything, Lawrence Wright.
Okay.
And so he wrote this book, A Human Scale, all about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And it is, I mean, it's a page turner with the
Okay.
Palestinian American FBI agent at the center of it going to Israel. And it is, I mean, it's something that's also bound to piss off just about everyone who reads it if you have an opinion on the conflict.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I have read like Rashad Tabakawala's Rethinking Work, Jack Myers, who I also read The Tao of Business. I've been reading more business books than
Yeah.
usual lately, and there's some really, really good ones out there. But I was so excited to like stop interviewing authors for a bit and like just get back to things on my Libby, the library
Yes,
app,
yes.
and just like get back to my reading list.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Is there anything you'd want to add that we haven't covered?
No, I mean, I think this is all great, except just for the fact that I just love having more voices and thinkers and practitioners in AI Marketers Guild, and there isn't a charge to join. So it's just love to have more people who are trying to figure this out, even to learn from others.
I love it. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, David, for joining. I am thankful for the community you're creating and the awesome content that you're putting out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.